Good evening, everyone. It's about 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on February 15th, 2016. I'm weather forecaster Eric Drewitz with your regional forecast. So, across the region right now, middle and lower 20s is the theme throughout most of central and western New York. However, we do have some cooler spots located in some of our local river valleys, such as the Mohawk, with temperatures in the middle teens, as well as the St. Lawrence, with even cooler temperatures, middle teens to lower teens to even upper single digits in isolated spots. Now, this is a big theme in today's forecast discussion because we have an approaching storm system, and the theme that I'm trying to discuss right now is what's known as cold air damming, and that essentially is cold air is denser than warm air, so the cold air likes to sink beneath the warm air. So you have these valleys at lower lying elevations that kind of collect the cold air because the cold air sinks into them. And so the cold air inside these valleys dams up. The valleys remain colder longer than the other areas around them. So the cold air is all dammed up in these valleys. Valleys remain cooler, meaning that when you have this warm air advection taking place aloft, overrunning process, and then you get temperatures aloft that are above freezing, but you have these shallow cold layers in these valleys that can lead to significant icing threats. So that's a big theme today in the forecast discussion. So across the eastern United States with some infrared satellite imagery, here's our system right here, and as you see, it's tapping into Gulf moisture. So there's plenty of moisture associated with this system. I'm looking at some current radar imagery at this time. You see we got some moderate to heavy rain across Tennessee and into Kentucky, and also the western portions of West Virginia. We got snow breaking out over Ohio, Pennsylvania, southern New York into New England as well. And we also have this pink area of sleet and freezing rain across the Appalachian regions in western North Carolina and Virginia, western Maryland, and eastern West Virginia. And that's actually a big threat to the Appalachian region right now. Current temperatures across the region, current temperature profile, you see more about what I'm trying to explain here, this cold air damming. So you have this pocket of cold air here that's trapped here due to the Appalachian Mountains. And you have this cold air all dammed up. So these are temperatures mainly in the 20s, middle to upper 20s, with that being said, you have aloft, this is 850 millibar temperatures and winds. You have temperatures, as you can see here, that are above freezing at 850 millibars. So you have the precipitation in the clouds starting off as snow. And as the snow falls through the warmer layers of the atmosphere here, it'll melt. And it'll either do one of two things. It'll either refreeze and fall as a frozen raindrop in areas that have a deep cold layer beneath and it's just shallow warm layer, or if it's a shallow cold layer beneath with a deep warm layer, it'll fall as freezing rain, which is a raindrop that freezes on contact with the surface. So these areas are experiencing some significant icing threats due to this cold air damming over this region right now. Looking at the current temperature advection at 850 millibars, we have that overrunning process as you see throughout the east with warm air advection occurring aloft. Moving more into our neck of the woods, the theme is the same. We have overrunning process right now with warm air advection aloft, and you saw we have those really cold temperatures that are just persisting in our river valleys because the cold air wants to stay in place due to the density difference. So this could lead to potentially a significant icing threat in the next 24 hours. Just to take a quick look at these indices real quick to talk about model biases. So we have NAO actually trending even more positive, which supports ridging in the east, and the PNA kind of decreasing to normal. So one important forecast bias is that the GFS has a positive NAO bias, and that bias shows that the GFS favors positive NAO patterns. And the euro actually has a positive PNA bias, but since the NAO is starting to become strongly positive, the PNA is weakening. The GFS might have a better forecast due to its model bias in this case, but the models have been very similar. So, bringing up the current, this is the 18Z NAM 500 millibar vorticity. As you see, we have a lot of upper level energy associated with the system throughout the Northeast. We have our here's the 850 millibar heights, temperatures, winds, and relative humidity, and you see we have that 850 millibar low moving through central New York and then out of the region by Wednesday morning. So looking at the GFS now, again we have lots of upper level energy associated with this storm. And then we have lots of moisture, lots of 850 millibar moisture, and the GFS also does show the low track across central western New York region, pretty much over. Actually, it pretty much almost has it going right over Oswego, so it's a very close call for areas of Oswego, Syracuse, central New York region. Here's the surface pressure, so mean sea level pressure, and as you see, the surface low is to our east. NAM also shows this as well, so models are consistent in that. I can't show you the euro for legal reasons, but I will say that the euro is also fairly consistent in with the GFS and the NAM on this current storm track. So looking at some precipitable water values, lots of moisture associated with this system for this time of year since we're tapping into the Gulf. The core of the moisture is hugging the coast more so, but there will still be a lot of moisture for this time of year associated with the system in central and western New York. So looking at the current forecasted frontogenesis, and this is important because this shows the barochronicity of the region, or the change in temperature with distance at a whatever pressure levels, but this is the surface. So as you see, we have lots of positive frontogenesis associated with this storm over the region, and that indicates this will be a very strong storm. And this baroclinic zone actually looks like models are showing it Oswego more on the left side, so that might support the thesis, the idea that Oswego and areas in central New York will be more on the cold side of the system and not the warm side. For example, here's the NAM, and then you have this baroclinic zone right here. This side will be warm side, and this side will be cold side. So essentially, we might be more in the snow zone and the ice zone than people have had forecasted from earlier. So moving more into about cold air damming, these are the winds, the 10-meter winds tomorrow. And as you see, this is 12Z tomorrow. We have a very weak southeasterly flow, models are showing for the most part. Or the NAM is out there, but the NAM is still showing a northeasterly flow, which is significant because that's the St. Lawrence River Valley. But either way, models are showing that the winds are going to be blowing out of these river valleys, and I actually have a map right here to show you. So we have the Mohawk River Valley right here that drains actually straight into Oswego. Syracuse is further south, so Syracuse could see rain while Oswego could stay icing. There's been events like this before. My freshman year, we had an event that Syracuse warmed up for rain, but due to the cold air damming here in the Mohawk Valley with that southeasterly flow, it just keeps filtering and funneling the cold air into areas such as Oswego. But if the NAM is right, we have the St. Lawrence River Valley here that had even colder temperatures, and there's cold air dammed up in there. And I've seen times where areas around the lake, so Oswego, we were in the teens, while Fulton was, in the upper 20s due to this cold air damming. There was even extreme cold air damming down here off of Erie on that same day. This was last year, where Fredonia was like 28 degrees and Dunkirk was 41. or Dunkirk, Fredonia was 28, and then Jamestown. My bad. It was Jamestown was down, which is like more down here was 41. But either way, you have this. These models are indicating these wind flows, and you have this cold air damming taking place, and it'll funnel the cold air either way to Oswego. So I really think Oswego could see a significant ice threat tomorrow. So looking at the current, the forecasted 850 millibar temperatures, that 0 degrees Celsius line. This is 18Z tomorrow. GFS shows the 850 millibar temperatures above freezing. So if we have surface temperatures colder due to cold air damming, and another important thing about the cold air damming and about maintaining a cold layer below is we have a lot of snowpack. We just received almost 3 feet of snow from all the lake effect bands that have pounded Oswego the past weekend, in the end of last week. So we have a pretty deep and a pretty solid snowpack, and that snowpack across the central New York region and also western New York region from areas downwind of Lake Erie will also help keep temperatures cooler. At the lower levels, although areas downwind of Erie in western New York, they're going to be pretty much seeing all snow anyway. But areas in central New York downwind of Ontario, the snowpack and the cold air damming, I think, is really going to prolong the icing. So the forecasters that are saying, it's going to be, have like a good 6-hour period where they think it's going to be plain rain in areas around Lake Ontario and in these valleys. I disagree with their forecast. I think these areas will not see much in the way of plain rain. Areas like Syracuse, have a decent shot because they're at a higher elevation, but areas like Oswego, I highly doubt that we'll see a prolonged period of rain due to this cold air damming that's taking place. So, show you on the NAM. NAM also does have 850 millibar temperatures warmer than freezing. So again, this supports icing over the lower elevations of central New York, and to bring up some SKUTs. So this is the NAM, 18Z NAM over Oswego for 15Z tomorrow. You see you have this big temperature inversion. I'll move back to about 6Z to show you guys the progression. So as you guys see at 6C, the SKUT says all snow. Winds are veering with height, indicating warm air advection, which is what is occurring due to this overrunning process that I explained earlier, with the warm air overriding the cold air. But as you guys see at this time, precipitation is all in the form of snow across Oswego and central New York, and it should persist that snow overnight. We could definitely pick up several inches of snowfall before the change over to icing occurs. Again, this is 9Z. So this is closer to the morning hours. All snow. This is now 12Z, and now this is where things are going to start to get a little bit interesting. Still has it just barely all snow. There could be a little melting. There could be some sleet mixed in, considering this. There's this warmer area aloft that's overrunning is starting to dominate, and now by 21Z, not 21Z, 15Z, as you guys saw before, it's a very close call. I think this NAM has it a little bit warm because we also do have a lot of snowpack, and I think the snowpack will keep us cooler. So in this case, I would say we would have freezing rain by 15Z, and then 18Z temperature profile doesn't look to change much except warmer 850s, so even more so freezing rain. But with the snowpack, I think it's going to keep things even cooler because snowpack and clouds will like to keep things cooler and cool down the very low levels of the atmosphere. So I'll compare this now with the GFS. The GFS did have a warmer forecast than the NAM, but I do believe that we will be colder than the models are showing due to snowpack and cold air damming that I don't think they're picking up too good on. So again, the profiles all snow for looks like the overnight hours, and then to the early morning hours is when that they predict that changeover will occur. I think Oswego could definitely have a prolonged period of ice. Going back to the NAM real quick too, because I think there was something. Aha, here it is. So if you look at the winds here, we have this weak northeasterly flow that's showing cold air damming. So cold air flowing out of slowly out of the St. Lawrence River Valley and over to the shores of southeastern shores of Lake Ontario, so areas like Oswego. So this will support freezing rain and sleet, more so prolonged than the uh, forecasters have predicted, in my opinion. So just to finish things off here, uh, wrap things up. National Weather Service has issued winter storm warnings for the northern tier, stretching through the southeastern shores of Lake Ontario and into western New York with winter weather advisories to the southeast. Oswego County, you have a winter storm warning in effect. Shout out to my sister in Buffalo. You're going to get pounded with snow. You could see 1 to 2 foot plus snowfall totals in this region. Areas like Oswego, I think, again, wintry mix is most likely. Precipitation will start off as snow, and the snow will persist for several hours. So we'll get some pretty decent snowfall totals, but then I think we will get a prolonged icing event here, sleet and freezing rain due to that cold air damming, as well as areas southward, such as Syracuse. You guys have a decent shot at seeing a few hours period of plain rain, but I think areas along the shores here, like Oswego, since we're at a lower elevation, we have that cold air funneling in. Based on the model output, it was either from the Mohawk Valley or the St. Lawrence River Valley. You have that cold air flowing in, and that's going to keep us cooler than Syracuse, which is higher up. So I think Syracuse could definitely, obviously, see several inches of snow at the onset. Some ice accumulation, but I think they will also see or at least a few hour time frame of rain. Snow accumulations over Oswego, I'm thinking, maybe 4 to 8, 6 to 12. Probably 6 to 12 actually. Time, inch range. But ice accumulations, forecasters are saying that 1/10 to a quarter of an inch possible. I think actually maybe a quarter of an inch to a half an inch possible, just because of the snowpack as well as the cold air damming with the wind flow the way it is. I think we'll see higher ice accumulations than forecasters are predicting. So again, National Weather Service has issued winter storm warnings for the areas in the pink and areas in purple, winter weather advisories. So either way, it's going to be a tough commute tomorrow morning. I can't. Don't ask me if your classes will be canceled. There is a shot maybe morning classes will be canceled, but I don't want to jump to conclusions since that's a whole nother ball game. But anyway, this is weather forecaster Eric Drewitz signing off.